Well, you and I have known each other for a few years now, but I'm going to give you an opportunity to kind of introduce yourself to others. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Get your name out there. What do you do right now? And let's just start there.
So my name is Brent Rasmussen, owner of Mortgage Specialists. I do a lot of different things with nonprofit work, disabled sports I really enjoy, playing golf, and I like to collect some wine actually as well too. It's one of my big hobbies right now. So, and helping people get into homes obviously as a mortgage professional too.
So you've got a little wine in your basement.
I got a little wine. I've realized that it's so much wine that you have to insure it separately off your homeowner insurance policy. So yeah, I got a couple bottles.
Yeah,
it makes for a good tornado shelter when you have the storm coming through.
So if you go, you're numb when it goes. If everything goes,
that's what we always say. Let's open the good stuff because you never know if we're going down.
Very good. Well, I'm going to take you back a ways. So tell me what it was like growing up. Brothers and sisters?
Yeah, got two brothers, one older and one younger. And my dad worked full time and mom stayed at home.
What'd your dad do?
He was a postal delivery man. So he worked for the United States Postal Service and used to carry and walk. And then as he got a driving route, he was able to just deliver mail every day, whether it was raining, snowing, hot, cold.
Like they say, right?
Just like they do it. So every day, yeah. So I remember as a kid, we used to have to go pick up my dad's paycheck when he was out on his route. So he went and deposited at the bank and doing all that stuff. So it was nice for my mom to be at home till I was probably like about 6th or 7th grade. I think she went to work at the elementary school across the street. So
yeah, so pretty much the standard typical family during that era.
Totally.
So you were a middle child. Mm-hmm. I would have pegged you as the oldest. So yeah.
Why would that be?
Your personality.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Most people say I'm pretty normal middle child. I don't know.
Yeah. So college,
yeah. I went to high school here at Ralston. Then I got a baseball scholarship at UNO.
What position?
I started catching, and I played outfield, and I pitched. So I liked to go to UNO because I wanted to play. So I had some looks at Lincoln and Creighton as well, but I didn't want to sit around for 2 years and kind of not play and just wait around for be a junior and senior. Mm-hmm. So I went to UNO knowing that I probably have a good chance of starting all 4 years, and that's what worked out and happened. So I really enjoyed that experience.
And your major was?
Major was small business management, and then I did an emphasis in entrepreneurship. So I wanted to manage people. That was my goal. I thought it'd be, I guess, maybe easier to not do the work and just manage people, let them do the work. But I realized that managing is a much more challenging experience that I didn't really have the energy for. I spent a lot of time captaining sports teams and helping leading them and realizing that's a little bit more challenging than I wanted to do.
So that was, in essence, your managing experience at that point.
It was. I was lucky enough to be captain my junior year and senior year at UNO. And I realized there's a lot involved in keeping people moving forward, leading them, keeping them motivated, but then also dealing with all the problems. That's where I didn't love is all the problems that occurred and people having issues and discussions, but then it was always kind of my final say on what we should do is best for the team, basically.
So you graduated.
Yep.
And your first job was?
Well, I didn't graduate at first. I went off to play minor league baseball for the Royals in '99.
What level?
Just A-ball.
Okay.
And so I went down there and...
Where's down there?
Down in Florida, Hayden City, Florida, which is outside of Kissimmee, and played minor leagues for them for just a year. But it was a different experience. There's a big, wide range of athletes from freshmen in college to my level of seniors, post-grads, playing together. But I realized I didn't want to necessarily be stuck in the minor leagues and become a coach. So that's when I played for about a year, did very, very well with statistics. I wanted to get my degree done. So I finished and quit playing baseball, went back to UNO and took about a year and a half to finish up and graduated in 2001. I should have been done in '99, but I got graduated in May of 2001.
Okay. And then 2002, you went to work for a mortgage company?
Well, 2001, after I graduated, I took a summer job for a little bit, waiting for a mortgage company to open up, which happened to be my college baseball coach's son started a new mortgage company at the time. So about September of '01, I started working there full-time at Region Financial.
So tell me about your experience with Northwest Mutual. I know you interned there, correct?
Yep. So from like 2000 to 2001, I did my internship there. It's probably the most financial knowledge I've ever learned out of any jobs I guess I had, growing up. I mean, even to this day, a lot of the basics that they taught us about, saving money, financially planning, retirement, all the above came from them. I had a lot of products that I purchased even back then, from life insurance, disability insurance, but then also setting up retirement plans and some of that stuff as well. So it was a great internship. I actually met through an appointment through my internship and got my mortgage career started from that appointment. So I liked it. I just saw that it took a good 10 plus years to get really stable, and I still want to help people financially. I don't think it was quite in the cards for me at that time.
So, how did that person help you get started in the mortgage or turn you on to it?
Well, there was another rep in the office, and I was sitting in the office that day, and he said, "Hey, I'm going on a lunch appointment. Do you want to tag along with me?" I said, "Sure." And he goes, "It's funny, you might happen to know who it is. It's Casey Gates, who is my college baseball coach's son." I said, "Oh, I know Casey. Small world. Yeah, I'd love to tag along just to see how, your lunch goes and just kind of learn as much as you can, right?" And at that appointment, he was explaining how he was helping people refinance, helping people go over their mortgage needs. And that time rates were coming down, so people were, doing a lot of refinancing, consolidating debts, things like that. And it just was, kind of a eye-opening experience for me. And they said, "Wow, you should look into doing something like this." And that's how it started.
So you went from there and started your own company. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
At what age?
I was 20. Actually, no, I'm sorry, 26 when I started my company.
26 when you started your company. Wow, that's young. How did you get the backing, the desire to do it?
What was kind of funny is because Casey's a good friend now, but he used to joke and said, "If you're not doing this for yourself in the next 3 years, you're doing something wrong." And I was always thinking, wow, I guess you can just do it. And honestly, back then, there was a lot of rules to get started, but you didn't need a lot of money. You only needed $20,000, $30,000 to get phone systems set up, licenses, all this other stuff. And we all just kind of fronted our own money. Me and a partner at the time did, and said, "Well, I'm going to keep doing this the rest of my life. I might as well do it for myself. Why do it for someone else and make them money?" Because we saw, there's a lot of money in the back end that an owner can make. But I also always thought, well, if I'm going to go to someone that, for my mortgage needs, financial needs, I want them to be the highest they could be. And who else can be higher than the owner, or somebody that's more certified or something like that. And I always thought that was important, and thought, well, down the road, I'm sure I'll get more business being an owner than just working for someone else.
Yeah, so it's a nice segue for me. So you're not a very good follower. You're a much better leader. Do you think that had a lot to do with it?
I think so. I mean, I think you're either really motivated to do that or you're not. And I've learned that by hiring people and having some staff. I would always assume that everybody would just want my job and want to do what it is that it takes to be an owner. And I've realized that not as many people want to be in that position. They do want somebody else to handle all those little fine details that come along the way, the goods and the bads. And we're seeing some of them now that, last few years have been very, very good. And now as the market slows down, there's some struggles and some times that, everything isn't going perfect, and you got to find different ways to get through them.
So I have an advantage over somebody who's going to be watching this. I've known you for a while. You're extremely competitive. Where did that come from? Just taking you back to did it come from a parent? Did it come from a brother? Did it come from your home?
It's funny that you should ask that, because I've had that question asked to me for 20 plus years. I never knew until recently why I'm so competitive. And actually it's kind of a super weird thing. I've tried to figure it out for myself. My dad was very competitive, but he never really pushed us crazy hard to be like, but I think I know where it comes from now is me and my brother younger were really bullied in elementary school and picked on, my older brother especially. And then it carried over to me as well too. And back then bullying was a normal thing. It's not as educated and talked about as it was then. And I think that ingrained into me so much of, hey, why are you bullying? You don't know who I am. There's no reason to do this. And I think subconsciously, internally, it just flipped a switch for me to prove and show to everyone else that, we are successful, we're normal people, and we just want to be treated normally. And I think that's where I get my crazy competitiveness from, is to show other people, mainly the bulliers, that what I can do is greater or better or just as good as anyone else that's out there. And yeah, that's honestly all I can think of where that came from.
So it seems to translate in your business. You have a lot of systems. You and I have done several number of transactions together, and I'm always getting updates, which I love. It makes my job that much easier. Do you want to talk about that just a little bit about systems?
Yeah, every Monday, I remember, I think I've told you the story, I used to get 10, 12 phone calls on Monday morning at 9 a.m. from agents saying, hey, what's going on with this loan, or where's the appraisal at, or where's this piece at? Well, on top of it, I'd also get 5, 10 calls from clients that Monday morning. And I was getting so many calls at the same time, and I felt so guilted by the fact that I can't answer everybody's call at the same time. I said, well, why don't we just be proactive in giving an update before they even call us? And that's kind of how it all started, saying, if it was me and I was going through the home loan process, I would want to know along the way, hey, where are we at? Where are we going? And we kind of created that model in that process. Now we like to update all realtors, whether you're a buyer or seller's agent, every week. And also throughout the milestones, we hit them with a text and an email as well along the way. And to our clients, we give them video messages of letting them know what's going on. Because I feel you can always be proactive more and solve the problem before it actually happens versus just waiting around for a problem to occur. It can be totally solved in advance with just simple communication in my mind.
So your inbox at the end of the day is always empty. Talk about that. Why is that important?
It's very important to me because when we got extremely busy during 2007 and 2018, 19, 20, there was more business that you could even keep up with and tackle. And so I learned if I left something for the next day, there might be, I can't be able to ever get to it. I'd always just get behind. Kind of like your credit cards. You make the minimum payment, you're never ever getting anywhere, right? But if you're making an extra principal payment or a large payment, your balance is going down. So I always, in my business, work to get through every email, every text message, every day, and then be organized to move that to a different folder and deal with it later versus I know I've seen people leave all of their inboxes or emails in their inbox and they don't know where to start. They get it the next day and they're trying to catch up from day's emails and new emails are coming in and all you do is just keep getting more and more and more behind. Does that make you crazy? It makes me totally crazy.
Of course it does.
I can't see my 2 staff that have a whole inbox full of 1,600 emails. It just would drive me absolutely bonkers. So that's always been a thing of mine too, is to respond to people in a very timely manner. And same way with me. If I ask somebody a question, I don't want an answer back in 3 or 4 days. I'd like to have one now, not later.
Well, let's go back a little bit. You graduated from college and then you got married?
Yep, so I graduated in May and got married the same exact month, so May of 2001. Okay. So got married May 26th. I think I graduated May 15th or something like that.
And then 4 days into your honeymoon?
I didn't know, but my dad had passed away of a massive heart attack on the treadmill working out. My family decided to not notify us on my honeymoon. They thought it would be best to not ruin, the time that we had down there. But made it a little more challenging because when we came back from our honeymoon, they greeted us at the really, that was before 9/11, and they greeted us literally at the gate, where nowadays that's unheard of. People can't go to the gate unless you have a ticket. And I knew something was weird because both my brothers and my mom were there, and that wouldn't be the case. Normally they should be picking us up. And that's when they told me my dad died and passed away of a massive heart attack. So I had about 24 hours to figure it out, and that's when we buried my dad. So it was kind of weird. A week before that, we seen everybody at the wedding, and then a week later, same people at my dad's funeral. So. And
how old were you?
In 2001, I was 24.
24. So you were still in that transitioning out of home, transitioning out of school, into the new job. So your mother's still alive.
She is.
Yeah, and so out of you and your brothers, did one of you assume the role of trying to fill your dad's shoes, so to speak, in terms of helping with the household?
Yeah, and that would have been me. My older brother still lived at home, but he isn't as handy and doesn't understand all those things that occur. My younger brother was going to be a freshman down at Lincoln, and so we didn't want to change his college experience and all that stuff.
Right.
So I don't think we ever sat down and ever talked about it. I remember all 3 brothers were in the bathroom during the funeral, and we just kind of had a quick conversation about something, but no one at that point in time decided who's going to do what. But I think just from, you know, the personality of who I am. I just kind of stepped up to do as much as I could to help, you know, my mom stay where she's at in her home, and you know, get through the things that all need to be done and all that stuff.
Well, the reason I asked is I reflect on my parents. I had a similar experience with my dad, but the point was my dad ran the household. My mom stayed home and was a stay-at-home mom. And there was a big transition there because mom had to take over a role that she'd never done before. And I was just curious if that's part of what you had to do.
My mom handled all the finances and all the managing and all the schedule, but she didn't handle all the maintenance and all the exterior items and all that stuff. So that's where we kind of came in, was handling all the mowing and the mulching and the tree trimming and the roof and, you know, the gutters, and handling all those things, reminding mom, hey, these things need to be done, or doing them, you know, ourselves, basically.
Yeah. So February 9th, 2002, can you tell me about that day?
Yeah, I went down to Lincoln to do a home show to obviously generate some business. And actually, it was a weird story, is that I wasn't even supposed to be down there that day, but I ended up switching for another employee, taking their time slot. And left home show, normal time, 4 or 5 o'clock, I think it was, to head back to the office to drop off some paperwork. I was following on the interstate, and it was getting a little slushy and sleety and rain, and a vehicle in front of me did a couple 360s on the interstate and then slid down into the side of the ditch there. And she was right in front of me, so I knew I needed to stop and help and get out and see what I could do to help. And that's what I did. I got out of my vehicle, went to talk with her, and within seconds, another vehicle slid off the exact same spot and hit me at about 55 miles an hour, and amputated my left leg and shattered my right femur, and you know, kind of banged me up pretty good, obviously.
Mm-hmm. So you wake up in the hospital, and you found out, had they amputated your leg at that point? Was it amputated in the accident?
Yeah, it was immediately amputated. I was awake the entire time on the side of the ditch. I remember being thankful that I worked at Northwestern Mutual and I had life insurance established already, because my wife at the time, you know, would have been taken care of. I would have passed, because I remember kind of, you know, everybody saying don't go into shock, because if you do, you know, you might not make it back and things like that. I was right between Omaha and Lincoln, so the weather was too bad to have Lifeline come. So it took them about 45 to 50 minutes for an ambulance to get there. But then I was awake the entire time to the ambulance back to the emergency room. And I remember being a really weird experience showing up in the emergency room with all these lights. I was still awake and conscious. And, you know, the doctors were asking me to sign some piece of paper to give them authorization to perform surgeries. And I'm like, what surgeries? What are you going to do? And we don't know. We're just going to try to keep you alive. And that's when I knew I was in a really bad predicament. But I did about 12 hours of surgery that one night. My mom and my wife came down to Lincoln. And that's when I woke up the next morning, and my feet were both elevated in the hospital bed, and one foot was missing, and one foot was, you know, wrapped with a lot of, you know, gauze and all kinds of things.
Your other leg was over your shoulder, correct?
Yeah, my right leg was struck by the vehicle on my right femur. And when I landed, my foot was over my head here, but I didn't know my left extremity, my left leg was completely severed off by the front of the vehicle that struck me. And that's where the bigger problem was bleeding out the bottom of my leg and, you know, losing too much blood.
So fast forwarding just a little bit, you're going to make it, but it's going to require some rehab. And you never did any formal rehab, is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, they just I don't remember even talking about going to rehab, honestly.
What was your mindset? What was, as opposed to using professional help, you apparently decided to do it on your own, correct?
Yeah, I just didn't even think that I needed it, I guess. I just was I think I remember begging the orthopedic for the last 2 weeks to let me go home. And he's like, you can't go home till this happens. Okay, well, what do I do to make that happen? Okay, you need to do this. And it was this, then it was this, then it was that. And I remember just taking step by step, day by day. I was in the hospital for 30 days, and I was just tired of being in the hospital. You never get good sleep, and all it's on is the news, and all you're hearing about is bad things happening. And it's just not a great place to live your life in a hospital. And I just wanted to be home. That was my biggest goal, was just get home. And you know, we didn't even talk about, they said some point in time I'll have a prosthesis to walk around. I don't remember even talking about that much in the hospital in detail. I think it was really go home, heal up, and we'll kind of do what we need to do next when everything's healed. But before I even healed up, I was already trying to get around on crutches. I was trying to, you know, move around and just not be stagnant. And I just didn't want to just be sitting in the hospital bed anymore after I was supposed to spend 2 months at home in a hospital bed. that just isn't my personality to sit around. I never have, and I still don't sit around really ever. So we never really talked about rehab. We got my prosthesis in July after February. I was so happy to be out of a wheelchair. I just started walking around and just never looked back. Just kind of kept going.
So, would you define yourself as disabled?
Gosh, that's a great question. Here's a story I can tell you. Is that I tell this story often. Is that when I first was invited to a wheelchair softball practice, they asked me to come out, and I was like, "Well, I'm not really, in a wheelchair. I'm not disabled. I'm just missing my foot. I don't consider it to be disabled at the time." And I got to practice the same way. I see all these people in wheelchairs all the time, and I was like, "Oh." That was the first time it clicked with me that, okay, maybe I'm not a fully able-bodied person. But as a definitional standpoint, yeah, I'm disabled. Do I feel like as I'm a disabled person and I can't do anything? No, because I feel like anything I can do, I still can hike, I can still walk, I can still run. Not great, but I feel like I can still get around. So I think I've taken it as a challenge of, yes, I'm a disabled person, but I'm here to show people that just because you're disabled doesn't mean your life's over and you can still do bigger and better things. I think that's the notion sometimes people have. And I think I look back at being bullied as a kid. I had big ears and they stuck out. And so to everybody else, that was something to poke at. And I can't imagine growing up being a disabled individual, whether you're in a wheelchair or you have braces or crutches, kids can be mean. And, I want to show that everybody that just because something like that happens to you, you can do whatever you want.
So you seem like you're always climbing the mountain. Mm-hmm. Is there a top to the mountain?
It's a good question. I've never thought of it that way. I think it does make sense for me to always keep pushing. My dad was probably my biggest role model. He never had one job. He always had 3 or 4 or 5 jobs. He was always working towards something. He was always working to get tickets for the next game or something else. And so I don't know what that top peak is. I really don't. I do a lot of give back with a nonprofit. I don't know if I'll ever be completely. I said the story today in one of my classes is to live life and enjoy life every single day. Don't wait to do something if you want to do something, because you never know. From being struck by a car at 24 years old, I probably still shouldn't be here and be alive. But if I pass away tomorrow, I feel very, very confident I've done as much as I possibly can have done and want to have done on this, planet Earth. There's more things I always would like, but I can say I've been very blessed to do just as many things as I've ever wanted to do. I thought I could do.
Attitude of gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you're now out of the hospital. You've got the prosthesis. Things are working. Is that when you formally went to work?
Yeah, so I actually worked from home for about 2 or 3 months, which was kind of interesting, and why I probably even started a business. Is because I was like the guinea pig back in 2002 for setting up remote access, setting up VPNs, setting up connectivity between the office and at home. Because even back then, many companies, even until the pandemic, didn't allow people to work from home. So I worked with our IT person to get us established at home, to get connectivity between loan files and the office, basically, to be able to work. So I started working from home for 2 or 3 months, and I didn't love working from home then. I was super anxious to get back to the office because I saw our group as our office as like my teammates, and I really wanted to get back and improve myself, I think, more than anything.
Yeah, so you alluded to it a few minutes ago, you're very active sports-wise. I know you golf. Talk a little bit about, if you could just kind of delineate the wheelchair volleyball, or sitting volleyball, wheelchair softball, the things that you do.
And how I got involved in it?
Just the sports that you do. Sure, whatever you'd like to tell me.
So originally, I tell this story often because it was even me as a mindset of transition. When they invited me to come play wheelchair softball, I was very adamant of not playing and not going, because I was saying, hey, I'm a minor league baseball player, I'm a college baseball player, I'm not a disabled person that plays disabled sports. And so I was very much not wanting to participate. And I got out there and kind of went through the motions, but thankfully I had a good change of mindset because it's changed my life. I play wheelchair softball now for the Nebraska Barons, and we've won 14 of the last 19 national championships. And because of that, right away, after playing my first year of wheelchair softball, we won the national championship, and they asked me to participate in Paralympic sports, which was sitting volleyball. And so I got to play and travel the world, represent the United States as the captain of the sitting volleyball team, and represented in World Championships, Pan American Games, and then also the Paralympics in 2004 in Athens, Greece. So I remember growing up as a kid, always wanting to be a baseball player in the Olympics, but I didn't think this would ever happen to someone, and I still could participate in the Olympics just a little different way. And so
yeah, it's weird how life can bring us full circle sometimes.
Totally.
Yeah, so you won't bring it up, but I'm going to ask you to. How many Hall of Fames are you in?
I'm in 3 Hall of Fames now.
And they are?
Nebraska Adaptive Sports, the Wheelchair Softball Hall of Fame, and also USA Volleyball's Hall of Fame as well.
And I think you said not playing sitting volleyball so much anymore, but still doing wheelchair softball.
Yep, correct.
Yeah.
I just got done. I sat on the board for USA Volleyball for about 8 years as a board of director, which was an eye-opening experience as well. The time commitment it takes to run a business and to be a full-time professional athlete was taking a toll, obviously, on relationships and my son. And so I decided to at least slow down in that aspect to make sure I'm around for Drew and for better relationships around here home.
I think I know the answer to this question, but do you consider yourself an optimistic person?
Yeah. Not always. When it comes to business, I'm more of a realist. And I think maybe I lean more towards realism than I do optimism. But I'm definitely not pessimistic. So I think I fit right between those two.
So, kind of tying it all together, is there has there been a mental cost to you having all of this drive, building up the business? You're 20 years into it, right, with your business.
Yeah.
You're one of the top mortgage brokers in the city.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you balance all of that?
It's a good question. I don't. I guess every day I wake up and just give 100%, and that's what I've kind of learned growing up. Even in sports, my mom always taught me to be 15 minutes early. For 15 minutes, if you're not 15 minutes early, you're late. And that carried over into sports and just kind of giving 100% as much as you can every day. Mm-hmm. I don't feel burnt out for as many things as I do. I think I did all of this, what I do today, on top of playing, sports, being gone 36 weekends out of the year. That took a toll on me, and I realized I need to back off there. But what I do today, I feel in control of, even though many people tell me I'm pulled many different directions in many different ways, and somehow I keep them going. But I think it's one of those things that I can't sit still. Maybe it's because I don't want to sit still to think about things. Maybe it's because I just don't want to sit still and I get bored. But I remember this as a kid. I don't remember ever wanting to sit down and just read. If I would start reading, my mind would just go and I would just come up with other ideas. I never would read and actually take in the words that were on the paper. So I think, unfortunately, it's just kind of how my body is ingrained and how it is, just to keep working hard every day.
So you've got gorgeous grounds at your house. You and Susan have all kinds of plantings. Is that therapeutic for you?
Well, my dad died of a massive heart attack at 54 years old. His dad died of a massive heart attack before 55, and his dad's dad died of a massive heart attack before 55. So one of the reasons I do try to stay more active than others is because I did spend a lot of time in the gym lifting and working out as a kid. That gets really boring. So I do need to stay active to keep my cholesterol down. And why not keep active doing something that you like, which I like plants, I like flowers. So it's kind of a little bit of both. I mean, it's getting out there, but I think of this too as many times I mow maybe extra than the neighbors, and I'm always wanting it's looking better. And it's always, everything's got to be better. I don't know.
The drive continues.
The drive continues, and no matter what I do, whether it's landscaping or mortgage business or sports, it just keeps continuing.
Yeah.
Yeah.